Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining me today. I'm the worst daughter of all. And today I wanted to talk about how a narcissist or a borderline malignant views and treats children. I kind of wanted to make this like a new segment, I suppose, like how abusers view, or how narcs view, or how malignant borderlines view certain things. And so this is the first thing I wanted to go over, as it's been in my notes for a while and I wanted to make a video about it. But I'm going to kind of go over sort of like what my experiences are, what I've read, interviews I've seen with someone like self-proclaimed narcissist extraordinaire Sam Vakman, or Vaknin, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, and just kind of just go over what I've witnessed from other people who've been abused by these abusers as children, or what I've seen around me. So my main thing is, I think that these abusers are of several different minds when it comes to children. I think the first one is it's something that they can hold over the target of abuse. And when I say it's something, I'm saying that from their point of view, because I don't think that abusers see children as people, or as human beings, or as a separate entity from themselves. I think that what they see children as, children and babies, as is almost like pawns to their little game of manipulation a lot of the times. So whether that's they're using them to show the world how great they are as parents, they're using the child as a pawn to show everyone that, see, look how talented my child is, if they happen to have a talent, and then they get to take credit for that because, see, it's my genes and look what I've done. And it's a way for them to look favorable in the eye of the public, which is, of course, most narcissists, that's what they strive for. They want to have this perfect looking life from the outside and keep all the dirty little secrets inside. And then I think another mind is they really want to shape a mini-me of themselves. But I think that's a double-edged sword for them, because I think that what they do is that they hate themselves. They hate everyone around them. Why would they want a mini-me in reality? Because they hate themselves. Why wouldn't they hate this other little person as well that they've created? Now, the thing is in most cases, the child is not going to be a mini-me of that person, no matter how much brainwashing and torture you put them through. A lot of kids, like myself, and these kids are usually the scapegoats, they will rebel and they will not take the crap that they're being put under. And then if they're the golden child or whatever, and they really want to garner favor with that abuser, they will act just as the abuser does. And that's where you have, many narcissists coming out of the family, minor narcissists, just because this is what they've learned. And they're also victims as well. Because it's really that the parent or the person, the adult, doesn't love this child. They just like that they'll go along with the game. But in actuality, it's all about the power. This person wants to benefit from the outside world's attention, but they don't really want them to succeed. So I think in my own experience, in my personal life with my own narcissistic father, I think he wanted to have a child with my mother for a couple different reasons, and then they all backfired, basically. I think he wanted to keep my mother in the relationship. They were very young when they had me. And when I mean very, very young, I just mean my mom was about 21, my dad was 20. And this is an age at which I think some people can definitely have kids and be totally fine and do well bringing them up. But I think a lot of people just aren't ready for children at that age, no matter what they think they may be ready for. I also think at any age you may not be ready for children. It just depends on the person. But that's another topic altogether. But I think my dad wanted to keep my mother in the relationship because I think it was to the point where my mom was ready to go. I'm only speculating this because from outside sources, family and friends of them, I think my dad was pretty physically abusive at that time. I know that a lot from my own mom's mouth, that a lot of dramatic fights and arguments were going on. And I think that that was kind of like the power struggle. And at that point, she was still young and kind of like, willing to rebel. Excuse me, at that point. And so he decided, well, this tactic of bullying her isn't working right now. I need to love bomb her and I need to keep her and trap her here. And so I think he decided, and she just went with it, to have a child together. They weren't married at this point, but they did marry soon after my mom fell pregnant. So I think that was like his first impulsive thought was, okay, well, if I have a child with her, then she'll have to stay, which is definitely the case. And I know it's not just women that do this. Like, I think when we think about someone who wants a child to trap someone, it's like automatically we think that women do this, but men also do this as well. In a binary kind of hetero relationship. I mean, that's only my experience. I didn't have like any other parents. My parents were straight. So, but in this scenario, I think my dad had this kind of thinking that it was so disordered that, yeah, I'm going to have this child with her and keep her here. She'll never be able to leave me because we'll always be connected. I can always kind of like hang this over her head if she ever decides to misbehave, quote unquote. I can use this child as a tool to keep my victim or my target in check. And I think that definitely worked on my mom for a long time. I remember the times that my parents had threatened to divorce, which I was cheering for as a child, which is ridiculous because most children would be terrified of their parents divorcing. But I was always like, yes, we get to be away from him and whatever. But I remember my dad always telling my mom, like, you're not going to keep the house. You're never going to see your child again. I'm going to get custody of her. And he probably was correct because he knows a lot of law enforcement, and therefore probably the judges and the courts and whatever would probably listen to him over her. And just because he's so charismatic and can fool people who don't know him well, like a lot of abusers can, like a lot of narcissists do, like a lot of borderline people who have a strong narcissistic trait do. So it's to the point where I think he, at one point, because I remember him telling me as a kid, like, he wanted to kind of make his little mini me, like what I was saying before, like where he was like, oh, well, if I can't beat her, I'll have her join me kind of thing. Because I think he saw my relationship with my mother was being very close. I was always close to my mom, as a lot of children are with a non-abusive parent, especially with a non-abusive mother, because of the whole chemicals and hormones that happen at birth, the skin-to-skin contact, that's your primary caretaker in most relationships, unfortunately. That's another subject again. I have a lot of feelings on that. Anyway, and I'm talking about non-abusive mothers, non-narcissistic or malignant borderline mothers. It's just fairly natural. And I think he saw that and was terrified because it's like, no, she's supposed to be mine only, no one else. She cannot be close to anyone else. And now that I see that this is happening, I'm going to have to sway this little lump of clay, as he saw me, to my way of thinking. And so I think what he did was, I remember him saying to me, what we have, him and myself is what he meant, is special. We can make people do things without them knowing it. We have something that not a lot of people have. So I remember him trying to indoctrinate me in some way into the Narcs club. And I was just like, oh, okay. But I did not understand what was going on. I did not know what he meant. I thought I was a chosen one or something. And I was like, but I don't understand what he means. Maybe I'll know when I'm older. So it didn't really work on me. And because of the abuse and things like that he just kept inflicting all the time, it was like this weird dynamic of, again, the trauma bonding that I think he's so used to inflicting, which was, oh, you're my daughter, I love you, I love you, I love you, and we're going to do all these things together and whatever, and then, but you're awful, terrible, lazy, fat, ugly lump of a log that I hate, and that everything is your fault. So, well, I guess he never really did the I love you, but he was always like, you have so much potential, but then he would kind of turn that into, but you're not using it, and you're so lazy, and you're so this and that. I also think it was a bit of ego too, you're my child, and since I want to do well, and since I see myself a certain way and you're part of me, that automatically means that you can do well, or that you have to do well as well, as a reflection of him. And like I said before in other videos, they see you as a part of their arm. They don't see you as a separate person. So it's like, oh, I'm this person, so they're going to do well because I want to do well. So it's just a lot of disordered thinking. But ultimately, his mini-me plan backfired because I was very rebellious against him, like a lot of scapegoats are. And I think that is where narcissistic abusers and borderline abusers, or whatever abusers, they feel threatened because they know that this is the only person, this is the only being that can, first of all, see through my bullshit, and then also take possibly my target away from me. Take the person that I want to eviscerate away from me. And so that's where the smearing came through. That's where the gaslighting came through. And fine. I mean, I guess that's the thing. It's hard growing up with that, but then when you step outside into the real world and you get some therapy and you get a little more self-esteem and you can see through the lies and the gaslighting and the drama and the show that they put on, it's a lot easier to deal with it and to make it a lot smaller than it used to feel. Because it used to feel like that was what ran my whole life. I used to get terrible anxiety about, possibly seeing him or meeting him in public about him spying on me, because he used to do that. He used to have cameras in our house, I think. So, like, all over the house when I was growing up and as I was a teenager. So, and I'll have another video about that if you're curious. But yeah, I just think that narcissists, and I'll just say abusers, I'll just cover the gamut and say abusers view children as a threat. They view children as something that they are resentful of, because the child the child gets all the attention that they want by just existing. So what I mean is, the child doesn't have to put on all of these games and these shows. Just the mere existence of this child gets them all the attention that they want, and they are furious about that, because I have to go through all this stuff and all these plans and all this deception, and they're the ones, they're just, sorry to be crass, but they're the ones like pooping themselves, and that's all they have to do, and then they get all this attention, and that's just not fair, because they're a child themselves. And they project all the things that they feel about themselves, all the hate that they feel about themselves, onto that small little life. And it's sad, because it's sad for them, and it's sad for the people that they hurt, because they could be better, and they are worth more than that. They just don't feel it. And so that's why they hate themselves. So I'm going to wrap it up there. This is a long video, so tell me your experiences with this, and have you noticed, if you grew up with an abusive parent, someone with a personality disorder in your life, a caretaker or someone that you knew, if you have to co-parent with someone like this, and you see how they're treating their children or the children that you've brought up, what are your experiences with this? I mean, I don't think I'm alone in this, but I'd be curious to hear what you have to say. So I'm going to end that one there. Thanks again for listening. Bye.